Hi everybody, so this is going to be for my first video for this year. It's going to be the vinyl tag. A little bit late in starting, but very enthusiastic to get going. So I'm going to try and get this in under 20 minutes if that's possible. First question is best find of 2019. One of the best finds, I will say, because I did find this one just late in December, is this Billy Squier. Don't Say No. I don't know. I don't know. I was very. I felt that I had some sort of a connection. I'd seen this record before. That I knew something about it. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I was in a record shop. I'll talk more about this particular batch that I got this in another video. But I was in a record shop and they were having 50% off sale. And a lot of stuff also was marked down just to sort of put in the dollar bin, or the pound bin if you like. And this was one of those. So I paid £1 for this. And it's really good record. I didn't know this, but Billy Squier and this album pretty much is pretty much his, well, put it this way, he likes Led Zeppelin. He sings very much like Robert Plant, and the songs could, you know, be seen as being in that sort of Zeppelin style. Anyway, I'm really happy to have discovered this. Yeah, so that's one of the best finds. Favourite album 2019, Lilac Time. I showed this on my Last Pearls of the String video that I made before I finished up for the end of the year. Definitely the best release in my view of 2019. A novelty record. I don't have many novelty records, but I do happen to have this record here. This is Keith Harris and Orville. I picked this up at a charity shop, not for me, but to send to my friend, my good friend Johnny Seed, because I know how much he loves this single. So, John, this will be in the post for you one day. Homage cover. Now, yeah, there's a lot of those, and I had to think a little bit about this. In the 60s, there was a sort of a bootleg released called Liver Than You'll Ever Be by the Rolling Stones. It was an unofficial release. I think there's a bit of mystery about how it came on, and there's speculation that it was actually released on purpose. But it's often described as being one of the first rock bootlegs. It was made during a performance in the United States, the Rolling Stones, and speculation is as well that they released an album called Get Your Ya-Ya's out to sort of counter that popularity of the bootleg. Anyway, the cover for that album looks like this, and it is so that when The Who did their Live at Leeds album, they based their record design on that Rolling Stones bootleg. I think really what they're trying to do is draw a parallel perhaps of the sort of the warts and all kind of approach, or the rawness of that bootleg with their own record. And as you know, this one is very raucous and raw, great stuff. So they based their design on the Rolling Stones bootleg. And next along the line is this one by Humble Pie. Now, yeah, of course they do look slightly different, but it is the fact that the lettering, the way it's sort of included on the record cover here, it's meant to look a bit like a similar kind of, you know, rubber stamp effect. And the point of Humble Pie doing that was, again, to draw reference to the album that had gone before I just showed, was the Who Live at Leeds. And again, you know, this is a fantastic album, very raw and raucous too. B-side, Deep Cut. This is a 12-inch I have by the Colts, Firewoman. It's got a B-side on here called Messing Up the Blues. It's sort of an interesting little thing. Maybe I'll do a little drop of this just for you to get a flavour of that. Something funky. Here is Sins of Satan, Future Star. Quite a fun record label. So this is sort of described as being soul funk. Tiny tinge of disco in it, I guess. I'll do another little few second drop of this for you to get a feel of how funky this one is.
Say, Bleed, yeah, you, man.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how to get to Mobile, Alabama from Detroit?
You say you want to get to Mobile? Let me see. Well, now you take us to 75.
Weird Shelf Buddies. This was a difficult one. I pulled out these, so Bonzo Dog Band. It was one of the guys involved in this that died recently, wasn't it? But directly after that, on my shelves comes Betty Boo. I bought this when it came out, fell in love with the singles, really liked the videos. It's a great record. It's not normally sort of representative of the type of stuff that I listen to, but I must admit I do really like this. It's just a bit of an old clash, I suppose. Anyway, I Was There, a band I've seen. I'm going to show you a CD. This is Blaze, Silicon Messiah. It's a promo copy. I've spoken about this before, I think. So Blaze Bayley was, forced out of Iron Maiden, I suppose, because Bruce Dickinson came back, and he hit the road straight away with this band Blaze and this album Silicon Messiah, and he was really sort of making the best of the momentum that he'd had from being the singer in Iron Maiden. He toured with his band all over the UK, and rather than doing sort of big arenas like Maiden do, they were doing sort of smaller places. Now, in my hometown, there used to be a pub that was sort of famous for its bands that they would have come and play there, called the Army and Navy. And I can remember I went to that gig, and there were surprisingly few people there. An estimate, there was probably about 25 people there to see the concert, which is astounding. And I'd gone there with a friend of mine that didn't get out much from my home village. Bit of an old man. I mean, I don't know how old he is now. He's probably pushing 60. But he wasn't the type of person that went out to concerts and things like that. He loved heavy metal. He was sort of one of those people that were, right there, dyed in the wool right from the start of metal. I can imagine his record collection must be absolutely amazing. I've never seen it. But I took him, and he was really interested, and he really had a good time. Because we were right down there at the front, right in front of the stage, just a handful of bodies around us. And Blaze was giving his utmost best, really, performance, because he wanted to stay current, I suppose. And had a brilliant concert, really good gig. And yeah, I can't remember how I came by this album. I don't have an original copy of this album. I think I probably picked this up at an event somewhere before the gig. But yeah, he signed a thing for me, and I think my friend Gary also got a signed photo, and we had a great time. So I was there right at the beginning of Bayley's career after Iron Maiden. Wish I had an OG copy, but have a repress. Okay, well this is a record that I picked up as a present from my mum and dad. They sent me some money for Christmas, and said get yourself something. So I got this. It's the only solo album by Mark Hollis. I'm going to talk more about this another time. But I was really excited when I saw this, because the original copies of this, and there's only been very few, they go for hundreds of pounds. I'd love to get a copy of the original, but I can't. Sadly, the pressing is quite poor. I mean, it's not consistently poor all the way through, but there are moments on this record where you think, wow, it's a brand new record, it shouldn't sound as noisy as that, it should be much better. And this being Mark Hollis, he's from he was a singer in Talk Talk, and this album pretty much is the unreleased Talk Talk album. So there's lots of loud parts, but also many quiet parts. You don't want to hear surface noise and stuff and that type of music, so could have done a better job. Still, I've got the album on vinyl now, and it still sounds better than CD. So that's a record that I'd love to have an original copy of, but hey, I can't afford it. The discography, I own. There's a lot of albums, a lot of bands that I've got, most of their records by. I'm going to show this because it's been floating up and down in my house. This is a big wodge. This is pretty much Whitesnake's discography. At least all the ones that have been released on vinyl. So this is the very first David Coverdale Whitesnake album, released after he'd sort of, after Deep Purple had split, I suppose. Then came this EP. I have that. Starting to build his band. Then came, and of course, it was called David Coverdale's Whitesnake. The next record I'm going to show, although it's not called Whitesnake, it's still David Coverdale, and it comes after his first record, really. I don't know why they dropped the name Whitesnake, but it's a very good record, that is. This is the one, Trouble, that came out called, quite literally, Whitesnake. So it's not David Coverdale's Whitesnake, this is sort of like the band album, if you like. And then this is perhaps the real famous one, Love Hunter. Great album that is, really like it. After that came Ready and Willing. That, Come Get It. Saints and Sinners. This is a really good record too, Slide It In. And then come the sort of the big MTV period, Whitesnake, 1987, just called Whitesnake, I think. Controversial record. It's good, I like it a lot. Just very different from all the ones that I've gone up to before, because it's more American style, the big drums, the big production. David Coverdale pretty much sort of dismissed most of his band and got in a bunch of good-looking guys to make videos with, really. Oversimplifying it really a little bit, but that's essentially what happened. And then the next album after that, Slip of the Tongue. It's famous for including Steve Vai on guitar. Another very good record, but of the new brand of Whitesnake, if you like. Now, all the albums that came out after that, or at least after that, were on CD, and I haven't bought them. Shame. I'd like to have them on record. I'd like to have them on CD too, but I haven't bought them. I stopped really. Also got the double live in the Heart of the City, and early compilation, The Best of Whitesnake. And this is kind of interesting because it's got it's got Ian Pace on drums and also John Lord on keyboard. So you know, elements of Deep Purple still there. Unique Centre label. I don't know if this is cheating or not. This one comes to mind. This is Andy Taylor, 12-inch, strictly limited edition. It's actually a picture disc with a guitar on it, but I'm going to include this as being a label because it's got all of the, you know, the colophon material on the back of the Les Paul. So that's my label. Pre-band, album or band that featured someone who went on to be famous. I'll show this. This is Skid Row, not the Skid Row from LA featuring Sebastian Bach, but yeah, it's an Irish band featuring Gary Moore in the middle there. This is, I think, his first venture out into the big world of you know, being a rock guitarist. Could be wrong, but I think that's where he started. But obviously, when he made this, he wasn't anywhere near as famous as he was going to go on to become with Lizzie and his own solo music book. Movie you'd recommend. So I found this in December in a charity shop. It's not strictly a music book, but it's all about record labels. It's called The A to Z of Record Labels by Brian Saffold. It's an interesting book, and it gives sort of a brief description, short little write-ups of various different record labels. I mean, it's not exhaustive. It's sort of almost a bit like a beginner's guide, if you guess. And I don't know that much about record labels, so I was quite interested to get this and read through it. It's an interesting book. One of those ones that I keep by the side of the loo. I sit down and read for 10 minutes. Anyway, that's my book. So, an underrated album. I'm going to show this. This is Beauty Stab, ABC. Very good record. It doesn't get any attention. They're famous for their first record, I guess, which is also very, very good. This is a really different type of thing, and often if you read about it in the media, you know, there's sort of reference to how it was a mistake because it takes a different path from the first album. It wasn't a mistake, they knew what they were doing, and it's really, really good. It's just that, well, commercially it didn't go home with the fans quite as well, but it's a really good record. Very raw, raucous, great production. The next question is batting average. Artist or band who consistently makes good albums. Well, he doesn't make them anymore, sadly, because he's not with us, but this is David Bowie. He made many, many very, very good records and good albums. This was probably the first one. Not the first album he made, but you know, this is where he really sort of started making records that he would, you know, that would go on to represent him. Great album this is, and there aren't many that he made that were not as good. Same album, different cover. This is Ike and Tina Turner, River Deep, Mountain High. Phenomenal album this. You could be forgiven for thinking that this is a compilation. It's not. It's actually a studio album. It feels like a compilation album because when you listen to it, it's like hit after hit after hit, or you know, great song. It feels like there's too many good songs on here for it just to be a normal studio album, but it's not. So that's an original, and I've got a reissue of the same album, River Deep, Mountain High, on their Music for Pleasure. An album you bought cheap that's now worth money. Now this is an interesting story. I'm going to show No Quarter by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. I bought this when it came out. It's a double album. I lived in Sweden. I'd been living in Sweden just 1 year by this point, and you know, I still am, but particularly at that time, huge Led Zeppelin fan. And I read about this coming out, really excited. I'm sure that everybody was. Went into Stockholm to the record shop, and I was presented with a choice to buy this on vinyl or on CD. Didn't really refer these things as being vinyl in those days. You just said bought the record or the CD. So, and I ummed and ahed a bit. Of course, you know, back in '94, CDs were still, you know, the thing to aspire to. It was considered the you know, the ultimate, the best you could get, the best quality sound and all this sort of thing. And records were really just sort of old-fashioned, and no one was interested. And I thought to myself, well, what shall I get? And don't forget, I'm a cheapskate. I'll always choose to pay less. I thought about getting the CD because, you know, obviously it would sound great in my, you know, my understanding at the time. But I didn't. I went with the record with the reasoning, two reasonings. Firstly, all of my Led Zeppelin collection is on vinyl records, and if this was going to be part of that, I'd want it to be, you know, the same on record. The second thing was, this was cheaper than the CD. Can you believe that? I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I should think '94 in Stockholm, the CD was probably around about £16, 15 or 16 pounds, I should think. And I know that this was cheaper, probably closer to 10 or 11 pounds. And I got it, and I have it. And now, if you look up this issue, this pressing, European pressing, and see what these go for now, you're looking at around about, for a good copy like this, you're looking at around about anywhere between 200 and 300 pounds. I wouldn't sell it ever because it's, you know, I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan and it's just amazing. So that's what I got. That's what I'm going to show for a record that I bought cheap. Well, it wasn't cheap, it was brand new. It was, yeah, at the time, 10, 11 pounds was not cheap, but yeah, it gained in value. Favourite drummer, I've got The Damned. My favourite drummer, I would say, is Rat Scabies. Well, I'll sort of rephrase that. My favourite drummer today for this video is Rat Scabies from The Damned. He is a really good drummer. Of course, you know, normally I would, if, you know, forced to have gone to my head, I'd probably say John Bonham was my favourite, and possibly Keith Moon too. I really do like Cozy Powell. You know, I can go on like that, but yeah, Rat Scabies is a fantastic drummer, particularly on this album. This is really good. The drums are really great in the mix, and it's a good record. And yeah, he's my favourite drummer. Turning 20, an album turning 20 in 2020. I didn't buy a single record in 2000. Think about it, there weren't many available in the shops. I mean, by 2000, you just didn't see records in the shops anymore. The internet was still relatively newish, so, you know, I don't have a single record in my collection that was released in 2000. I'm going to show this CD. This is Motorhead. We Are Motorhead. Pretty good record, or pretty good album. It's got this track on here that's sort of like a Ace of Spades Part 2, if you like. It's the final track on the album called We Are Motorhead, Born to Kick Your Ass, and it's got the same kind of groove that Ace of Spades has. It's very fast, and it talks about, you know, it's a bit like, yeah, hey hey we're the Monkees, but for Motorhead. Really good track. The album's okay, I suppose, but I think from here they started to go downhill. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to show for an album turning 20. Trilogy of albums, 3 solid albums back to back, from the same artist bands. So I'm going to show the Dream Academy. They only released 3 albums, sadly. Really like the band. Everything about them I've liked forever. Really good record. This is the first album. It's famous for having the single Life in a Northern Town on it, which is written by Nick Clay's about Nick Drake. It's got Kate St. John, who's one of my favourite female musicians, and Gilbert Gabriel. He's the keyboard wizard. The second album is really, really good, called Remembrance Days. Yeah, I sort of lost the words how to describe these. They're a really great band. And the third and final album they released was this. This came out, when did this come out? 1990. Wow, seems like just a few years ago, but it's 30 years ago. Yeah, that was their final album. I'm not really sure, but I think they just generally didn't get their contract renewed. And Nick Clay's went on to make film music and that sort of thing. And Kate St. John went off to play with artists like Van Morrison and other people. And Gilbert is, I don't know, I think he's a teacher. He teaches music or something. Anyway, so those are my 3 albums. Okay, well, I think now I've answered all the questions on that list. I'll have to go through and check, but otherwise I'll say thanks for watching. I hope that was interesting. Hope it didn't take up too much of your time, and check out my next video coming up. I'm going to do a cleaning video. I hope you'll enjoy that. Thanks very much. Bye.